the big lie. You see it yet? Or do you see them yet, the big lies? All you got to do is turn on your television. That's all you got to do. Turn on the mainstream networks, legacy media. Yeah, you see it yet? You see the lies? I know you do. Guess what, legacy media? Guess what, mainstream media? Got a message for you. You won't be trusted anymore. All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It is the 29th of April, 2025. And as usual, I am broadcasting from the most confused, dumbed down, manipulated, and brainwashed nation on the face of the planet, bringing you news and information they hope and pray you never hear, because I hope to trigger cognitive thought. Yes, that gray matter that's strategically placed between your ears. Maybe it's run dormant for a while, thanks to the American educational or indoctrination system. But here, that's the policy here. That's the whole point of this broadcast, is to reawaken the cognitive and common sense that I know we all have. Anyway, these are the WTF reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, and on the outset, I want to mention to you that we are brought to you in part by Blackout Coffee. Blackout Coffee is, I love my coffee. I do. I have to have my coffee every day. And I like a nice, stout, robust cup of coffee. Now, whether you like light roast, medium roast, dark roast, whatever, if you like iced coffee, if you like the coffee pods, and you want to do business with a patriotic company that's doing everything that they can to help and support our first responders, our military, and our police forces, then do business with Blackout Coffee. You'll get a good product at a decent price, and you're supporting a good cause. So please go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, visit our sponsors page, and get some Blackout Coffee. All right, that said, as usual, as I start the show, I usually say, where do I start? There's so much going on in the world. Of course, we heard about this huge blackout over in Europe, Spain, Portugal, parts of France. There were also reports that Greece and Italy, they all had problems with their electrical systems. And last that I heard last night, I didn't check today, but from what I understand, they can't figure out what happened. They thought it was maybe some sort of strange atmospheric condition that took out the electrical grid for a little while. I don't know what the cause was, but something's telling me that the powers that be do know. They just don't want to say. Now, I'm just speculating. I'm hypothesizing at this point, but I think there was something behind that particular occurrence. Now, of course, you could be a conspiracy theorist and say, yeah, well, that's because the white hats, they had to shut everything down. Well, they're going to go after some of the black hats and the bad guys. Well, I can only hope that that's true. And maybe that's what has to happen. I don't know. But I think that, remember a couple months ago, there was a huge blackout in Chile? Yeah, maybe that's what was going on. I don't know. We're just going to have to keep our eyes open on that. But in the meantime, there's so many different things going on, but I do want to point out I've been watching a lot of the social media posts. As a matter of fact, I'll be quite honest. This is where I do a lot of my gathering. I mean, I do have my news feeds, et cetera, and I look at some of the news clips, and I grab audio from those news clips, and that's why I'm here with the audio receipts. I'm not here to say it. You can hear it directly from the horse's mouth, as they say. So hopefully I'll keep myself out of hot water doing it that way. But there are people that are posting on Instagram and X and stuff like that. Thank God for social media. I mean, can you imagine with a pickle that we would be in if we didn't have social media, if we didn't have Rumble and BitChute and YouTube and of course X and Instagram and all that? We'd be in deep doo-doo. But I wanted to share a couple of posts here. I saw this posted on X. And the only name that I have on this is Julie. So let me read this. It was a printed out thing. And I think it does apply because that's sort of what's going on right now. I read, people often say, why not just jolt the sheep awake? The wake-up process is very serious and delicate. If you're dealing with some big, serious lies, that will be, you are dealing with some big, serious lies that will be uncovered. NASA, CIA, Disney, World War II, 9/11, Antarctica, the Vatican, Mockingbird Mossad media, deep underground military bases, central banks, the Fed, the synagogue of Satan, black triangles, the earth, royal bloodlines, frazzle drip, adrenochrome, and much, much more. Now, imagine all this being downloaded all at once. People would be in padded rooms or cliff jumping. That's the truth. Yes, even conservatives who don't wear masks fall into this category. This has to be unwound delicately for your own sanity. It's coming out drip by drip. Nothing at this point can stop it. You may not understand the process, but you'll end up respecting and appreciating it greatly. The battle is won already. This is Operation Wake Up. Pay attention to everything, but don't let anything consume you. Everything matters and is connected in some fashion. You can't tell people. You must show them. Okay? That's as simple as that. And that's true. And I think this is exactly what we're seeing right now. Little by little, people are waking up. People are finding out, that they've been lied to on a massive scale on all these different issues. So many different things. So anyway, I wanted to basically throw that on the table at first because I know a lot of the new folks that are listening to this broadcast, I know you're hearing things that are making your eyebrows go up into your hairline. You're going, what? Well, unfortunately, yeah, the truth is a bitter pill. And I'm sorry, but, they say that mankind has a fear of the unknown. And I think that's common sense. Well, common sense also tells me that if you make the unknown known, that the fear will dissipate. And that makes perfect sense to me too. But unfortunately, there's a hump that you've got to get over. And that hump is, getting rid of all of the what's the word I'm looking for? The schema of the world that you've built your beliefs upon. And if you've built this house of beliefs on a foundation that's faulty, eventually that house is going to collapse. So we're at the point right now where we have to sort of dismantle it little by little and start over again. Because we have been lied to about absolutely everything. And it's a tough pill to swallow. It really is. So I just wanted to lay this predicate out there because that's why I call this show Red Pill 101. I'm not a deep researcher. I'm not going to come with all kinds of very, intense, sometimes I will, intense facts and history and stuff like that. I mean, I've been known to do some deep diving on different topics. But when you're dealing with generalities, it's not hard, it's not hard to start, triggering a response to the listener, dear listener, you guys out there. Hopefully you'll do your own research and figure out exactly what's true and what isn't. I'm just here to plant the seeds. It's up to you to tend the garden. Okay, that said, again, let's utilize common sense. I know it's illegal. I know that's frowned upon. It's all conspiracy theory. But common sense tells me, and I've mentioned this on the show before, that if a guy robs a bank and he runs out the door and he's running down the street and the police catch him, okay, are they going to have a committee? Are they going to basically, have an inquiry? Are they going to set up panels to investigate this whole thing and meanwhile let this guy run around? No. When you catch a guy red-handed, you arrest him. You take him to jail, you put charges against him, and then he has to go to trial. Well, why doesn't that apply to all the corruption and criminality that we're seeing right now with our government? The whole thing about USAID and USIP and the Social Security fraud and, just all over the place. We're talking billions and billions and billions of dollars, and nobody's being held accountable. Now, wait a minute. Are we going to have congressional investigations? Are we going to have to put together panels and then have impeachment proceedings and stuff? No! We have to arrest some people and let them stand trial. I mean, that's common sense to me. And a lot of these people have been caught red-handed. And we've been watching this in real time for the past, decades, especially in the past decade. How come there's no arrests? How come we haven't seen anybody perp-walked in an orange jumpsuit, handcuffs, and leg irons? That's what I think the American people, and indeed the people of the world, need to see, because this corruption is not just exclusive to the United States. This is a global problem because we have a global economy, and we have multinational, international banks and corporations that have been working in concert to do exactly what they have been doing. So it's a huge problem. I mean, it really is. And if we've got, what percentage of the Congress would you say is involved in these nefarious activities? I mean, half of Congress? 3/4? I would venture to say like 90%. So what would happen if all of a sudden we had to arrest 90% of our elected officials? Boy, that would be a mess, wouldn't it? Maybe we'd have to go back to the jural assemblies. That's a topic we'll discuss in the near future. But I wanted to use that analogy about the robber. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask about this thief, what if you catch this guy? Let's see he ran out of the bank and he's got $1 million in the bag. All right, they catch him. He's convicted. Does he get to keep the money? I think that's a stupid question, but I have to ask it. Does he get to keep the money? What if the crime that he committed wasn't a robbery? What if it was murder? All right? What if he murdered somebody and he took all their assets? Would he get to keep the assets? No, I don't think so. All right, so let's apply this to what's going on the global scale with the global plan for worldwide depopulation. And yes, it's a real issue. If you don't believe it, I've got a couple of clips I'll be playing shortly to prove the point. But let's say that there are supervillains. I mean, we've all seen movies like Batman and Spider-Man and Superman, et cetera, and there's always some supervillain who's going to do some horrible thing, wipe out a huge portion of humanity, going to poison the water, or he's going to let off some huge bomb or something like that. Okay? So if the guy gets caught, does he get to keep the spoils of all the corruption and thievery that he's done? No. Well, this is where I think Executive Orders 13848 and 13818 hopefully will be kicking in sometime soon. Because there are people, as far as 13848, that has to do with election interference and foreign actors. Now, if they find somebody is involved in messing with our election, like, say, 2020, guess what? In that executive order, if you're found guilty of messing with that election, you get your assets seized. And the same thing is true with Executive Order 13818, having to do with crimes against humanity. Sex trafficking? A global, shall we say, an exercise to eliminate a huge portion of the population? And guess what? Would you get to have your assets seized? And if you were found to be involved in any way in promoting misinformation, you get to have your assets seized? ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox, MSNBC? Something to noodle on. Now, the thing is a lot of people around the world are indeed waking up. And I want to share with you an audio that a woman from Australia posted. And she obviously has her head screwed on pretty tightly because she sees what's going on. And I guarantee you, campers, it's not just going on in Australia. Anyway, here's what she had to say. Listen up. Whoop. Why does it do that? I don't know why it does that. Okay, let's try it. Here we go.
Imagine you wanted to destroy a country, not with bombs or bullets, but from the inside out. how would you do it? You wouldn't attack its military, you would attack its foundations. You would gut its energy, make power expensive and unreliable. You would cripple its manufacturing, kill off every industry that would make it self-reliant. You would turn housing into a fantasy, where young families can't even dream of owning their own homes. You would erase cultural identity, label everything patriotic as hate. You would flood the job market, increase the demand, and then call it economic growth. You would bankrupt families with cost of living hikes, and then gaslight them to thinking they deserve it. And if you dare to call it out, they'll call you delusional, a bigot, a conspiracy theorist. But here's the thing, this isn't a thought experiment. This is happening. This is happening to Australia right now. Every pillar of our once strong nation is being dismantled in real time. Not by accident, not by incompetence, but by design.
That's right, by design. And it's not just happening in Australia, folks. No siree, Bob. Look around you. It's happening right here in the good old USA. And like I said, we are under attack on many, many different fronts. And I mentioned a few minutes ago, what if there was a plot to kill a lot of people? And I've started numerous shows by saying, look, there's a number one issue you got to keep in the front of your head, and that is that the deep state, the black hats, the oligarchs, the elitists, the globalists, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, they want to kill you. They want to drastically reduce the world population by any means necessary. This is not conspiracy theory. This is a fact. It was literally etched in stone in the Georgia Guidestones before they were blown up a couple years ago. The number one tenet on the Georgia Guidestones was maintain humanity at no more than 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. That's 500 million. We're approaching 8 billion people. So what are we going to do with 7.5 billion people? They got to figure that out. And like I said, they're going to do it by any means necessary, but they have to be really stealth about it. They can't, blatantly go out and start killing people. But so how would they do that? Well, there's a couple of different ways that they could do it. As a matter of fact, I have a clip here from Dr. Michael Yeager. He was the vice president of Pfizer, believe it or not. Listen to what he had to contribute. Listen to what he had to say.
As soon as the pandemic arrived, they came up with early treatment for COVID-19, didn't they? And they pushed and pushed and pushed. At first I thought there was a virus, and so it was great that they were coming out with treatments. Then later when I realized there wasn't, so I thought, why are they pushing this stuff? I thought they're pushing harmless placebos on the worried well, and they're providing a belief structure that there really is a pandemic. Otherwise, why would these clever people be going out of their way to sell you this stuff? And it's like, unfortunately, it's much worse than that. One of the center stage drugs that they want you to take, Ivermectin, is one of the most violent fertility toxins I've ever come across. And I didn't know this because, like you probably didn't think to do the deep research, and I didn't.
Okay, I'm going to pause it. Did you hear what he just said? Ivermectin. Ivermectin is an infertility drug. He just said that. Wait a second. We've been hearing that ivermectin is going to help you. They're saying it could possibly help with cancer patients. And remember, they were demonizing and ridiculing it. It's horse goo. It's wormer for pets. And now all of a sudden they're saying, well, it's actually that's pretty good stuff, so maybe we ought to start thinking about taking it. Well, now maybe we know why. He continues.
So someone contacted me a few weeks ago with a bloody great dossier of papers that go back from its discovery, and there's unquestionably around the doses you're being suggested to take in rats and rabbits, and in some limited studies in humans, it reduces the ability to conceive and to grow babies to term. And doesn't it fit? Doesn't it fit? Why did there's nothing that's major on the world stage that's accidental, I'm afraid.
Yes.
That's the problem. And so now there's nothing major on the world stage that's accidental. Who put ivermectin there? Well, the perpetrators did. And why did they put it there? It's like, if you don't get jabbed and avoid impacts on your fertility, a good chunk of you will take ivermectin instead.
Interesting. Well, if they can't knock you off with a bogus hokey pokey thingy dingy. They can't get you that way, then they'll get you with all you protesters. Yeah, okay, fine. I'll take ivermectin. I'll get by the hokey pokey thingy dingy. I'll take ivermectin. Well, guess what? Now we find out that was Plan B. Oh my gosh. Well, guess what? There's also a Plan C. Yeah, listen to this. Here's Dr. Chris Shoemaker, and they did a study over there across the pond in England having to do with the hokey pokey thingy dingy. And here's what his findings showed. Listen to this.
But I have proof from 10 to 14-year-old children who gave us the evidence in England, Scotland, and Wales that the jabs were consistently toxic to children. So let's take a look at those proofs. If I could have what is the first slide in my series, thank you. And there we have the title of the study. It occurred between September of 2021 and March-April of 2022. So it was stretched over about a year and a bit. And the keywords there is double-blind. It was a double-blind, random-controlled study. The kind of study where the parent doesn't know what the child is getting. By the time they reviewed another 3 or 4 months' worth and gave the final answer was actually 8,200% more likely to die in the 6 months following a COVID-19 triple vaccination than children who did not get the vaccine at all. Those were the two groups to be studied, and the results came out for those two groups. And the most central important number for you to have in your head right now is that you are 82 times more likely to die in the 6 months following triple vaccine if you were a child than if you didn't get that.
Oh, so I'm just a conspiracy theorist. Oh, they would never do that, Dave. Here you're hearing it directly from the horse's mouth. That's why I show up here with the audio receipts. I'm not making this stuff up, folks. Anyway, and I know it's hard to accept this. It really is. I mean, this goes against everything that is true and good in this world, but we're not dealing with good and honest people. They do have an ulterior motive, and it's not a good motive. Now, hopefully, you listeners out there are being able to put these puzzle pieces together and get the big picture. I know it's an ugly one, but the only way this situation is going to be remedied is if each and every one of us get involved. Doesn't make any difference how big or how small your effort is. Just make an effort. As a matter of fact, there's an old story about a guy who was sitting on the beach, and the tide has gone out, and the sand right in front of him is still wet, and it's littered with starfish. Thousands and thousands of starfish are stranded on the wet sand as the sun is beating down on them. And this guy sitting on the beach notices that there's a guy waiting in the water. He comes in to the damp sand. He picks up a starfish and he wades back out into the water and he throws the starfish in the water. And then he comes back in, he grabs another starfish and wades out there and puts the starfish back in the water. And back and forth he goes, one by one. He picks up a starfish and throws it in the water. And meanwhile, the guy sitting on the beach is watching this, and he calls out to the guy. He says, "Hey, what are you doing? I mean, there's thousands of these starfish here, and you can't possibly make a difference." And then the guy wades back in. He picks up another starfish. He wades back out, and he throws it in the water. And he turns and he says, "It made a difference to that one." Interesting point of view. Anyway, a little comic relief. Here's President Ronald Reagan.
A scarecrow walked into a store looking for a brain. He sees 3 brains on display. One is a libertarian brain priced at $25. The second is a Republican brain priced at $100. And the third is a Democratic brain that is priced at $1 million. So the man asks the clerk, "Why does the Democratic brain cost so much more than the other two?" The clerk replies, "Well, sir, that brain has never been used."
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary. And you can get More Tank by going to our website. Go, just do it. Go to TheWTFReports.com, visit our sponsors page, and that's where you will get a 10% discount. You use the promo code REDPILL101, and you can, for $20 you'll get 5 tablets of Get More Tank, and 1 tablet per tank of gas will eventually, within the use of those 5 tablets, you will see an increased performance of your car and better mileage as well. I'm getting, depending upon city or highway driving, I'm getting between 15 and about 20% better mileage in my car, and you will too. So go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, click on the sponsors page, and Get More Tank. You'll be glad that you did. Oh, and by the way, I got to make an announcement. Where's my kazoo? We have merch. We have baseball caps and T-shirts and coffee mugs. The WTF Reports. That's on the T-shirt or on the coffee mug, whatever. Yeah, you can get some merch and support the broadcast here and help to promote this wackadoodle broadcaster and this information that is so difficult to understand. Again, go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and get some merch.
Working hard to get my pay, quitting time another day. The big game's on and then the fight. Let's see what's on the news tonight. A big election, what's my choice? Doesn't matter, I'm just one voice. So much corruption, nothing's fair. They won't change, why should I care? I'm just hanging on, look out for number 1. And on the weekend maybe I can have some fun, yeah. Are things freer in America today than they were a couple years ago?
Broadcast stations we control, induced complacency the goal. Let people think that they are free. Distractions broadcast on TV. Our influence at Washington make people do what we want done. Eventually, when we are through, they'll do just what we tell them to.
All right, a little musical interlude there. Yeah, that's a song called Are We Freer? And if you go to YouTube, and all my music is out there for free. I'm not trying to make any money. I know there are people selling it on eBay, and I have no idea who they are, and frankly, I don't care. The message is in the music, and any way it gets out there, I'm fine with that. So if you go to YouTube and do a search on my name, just Dave vonKleist, DAVEVON. Oh, there it is. It pops right up. Dave vonKleist. And there it is. I got 3 albums of politically incorrect, in your face, you lying son of a government music. So enjoy. It's there for your entertainment purposes. All right, I'm going to open up the phone lines if you are interested. If you'd like to belly up to the telephone bar and bring to the table any topic that you'd like. I've got a couple of other things I was going to share with you today, but if you want to join me, you're welcome to do so. 215-867-8255. Again, that's 215-867-8255. Okay, getting back into this mess that we seem to find ourselves in. Dr. Robert Malone, you may recall that he's been all over the news. He's the guy who developed the mRNA technology. And unfortunately, it's been used for nefarious purposes, and that's why he's speaking out. But he gave a little bit of a discussion, and he brought up a very, very, very important issue that we all have to keep in mind. Listen to what he had to say, because this is worth remembering. Here it is.
In true fifth-generation warfare, you do not know who your opponent is. Example, who is responsible for, who's the puppet master behind the COVID crisis as we've experienced it? Who is it? Anybody here know? Was it Klaus? No. There's something above Klaus. Was it Biden? Was it Tony Fauci? These are all surrogates, okay? You don't really know who is managing the message that has been propagated on you. That's fifth-generation warfare. Over the last 3 years, Western governments, non-governmental organizations, transnational organizations, pharmaceutical industry corporations, media and financial corporations have cooperated via public-private partnerships, which I assert is a euphemism for fascism, to deploy the most massive, globally harmonized psychological and propaganda operation in the history of the world. Okay, over the last 3 years, you have been subjected to the most massive, harmonized, globally coordinated propaganda campaign in the history of the Western world. Full stop. With this campaign, the governments of many Western nation states have turned, okay, this is key, military-grade psychological operations strategies, tactics, technologies, and capabilities developed for modern military combat against their own citizens. These are inconvenient facts. The world that many of us believed existed no longer exists if it ever did.
That is something to think about. Yes, we have all been subjected to a global effort to manipulate us. He just said we're dealing with military-grade psyops, and the entire world is being subjected to this. And it's kind of terrifying when you think about it. I mean, really. I mean, it's not just us, but we're all being played. Every doggone one of us. And as a matter of fact, over there across the pond, I saw a post. Excuse me. I was thinking about making an audio clip for it, but there really wasn't any point to it, because what was happening is that there was in Great Britain. I don't know whether it was in London or what, but it was in England. There were some citizens there that were having a meeting because they wanted to organize an event to promote. What was the word that they were using? Human rights. Okay. Basically, that they were going against all the stuff that was going against human rights. Well, what do you know? The police showed up and arrested them because they wanted to have a rally to promote human rights. Meanwhile, those are real criminals there. You got to get them off the streets. Yeah, I mean, the video showed them being handcuffed and hauled out of there because they wanted to have a rally for human rights. But meanwhile, in England, young girls are being threatened, and not just threatened, but they're being raped by a certain part of the population. I'm not going to mention which one. You can figure that out. But they were interviewing a young girl, and I was looking at this video. I would have to estimate that this girl is probably about 11 or 12 years old. And unfortunately, this is the life that she has to lead. Listen to this.
Party.
And you go to a local school?
Yeah.
Have you lived in this area all your life?
Yeah.
You're having problems at school. Can you just elaborate on the kind of problems that you're having?
Asian boys coming up to me and saying, I'm going to rape you, and if you don't go with me, I'm going to punch you in the face with a knuckle duster, and if you don't, give me a blowjob.
And this is happening at the school to several girls, is it? It's not an individual case?
No, it's happening to lots of girls.
Do you think the teachers and the authorities are aware of this?
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably aware that the Edge of the City programme focused on young girls like yourself who are being targeted by Asians to be groomed in this particular area. Do you think that was an accurate description of what is happening?
Yes.
Have you contacted the police regarding them threatening to rape you?
Yeah.
And what's the police response has been?
They said that they're going to look into it.
And that is it?
Yeah.
What's your teacher's response been?
The pupils are going to get excluded for 15 school days.
Right, and that is it?
Yeah.
There's also the accusation that young Asian males are hanging outside schools in flash cars, basically intimidating young girls like yourself with threats. Is that the case?
Yeah.
And this is happening, what, once a week, twice a week?
Every day.
Every day?
Yeah.
And the authorities know it's happening, but they're not doing anything about it? And how do you feel when you're targeted by these people?
I feel intimidated by them and scared.
Now, this is what the young girls are having to face across the pond. Now, I remind you, now the police will go in there and they'll do a raid and arrest people for wanting to plan a rally for human rights, and they'll go and arrest you and haul you out in handcuffs. And yet, these quote-unquote Asians are allowed to do this with impunity. Now, I don't know what's going on in England. Maybe they're all worried about being politically correct or what have you, but this is disgusting. This is horrendous that the young girls over there are having to deal with this type of behavior. And it's terrifying. It's terrifying because it's not just in England. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. And anyway, okay, back to the matters at hand. Let's see, I've got a couple of other audio clips I wanted to share with you because it seems that our entire Western civilization is collapsing. And of course, we were just discussing what's going on in England. You know how many of the major cities in England have Muslim mayors? And the police can't go after the Muslims. No, it's okay. If they're out there pillaging and raping and stuff like that, no, because they don't want to be politically incorrect. They don't want to come across as being Islamophobes or racists or anything like that. Yeah, this diversity thing is backfiring big time. It's been going on for a long time. And now folks are starting to engage in what is called the noticing. Yeah, I mean, where there's the Great Awakening, there's the shift and stuff like that, but now there's the noticing. People are starting to notice the influence that a certain group of people has on our society. And here's a rap. Well, okay, I'll tell you what, before I do that, we'll take a call. Okay. All right, welcome, caller. What's your first name and where are you calling from? Welcome to the show.
Well, this is Ray. I'm calling from Columbus, Ohio.
Hello, Ray. Welcome.
Look at what you just brought up is so well. Your whole program is fantastic. Look at the song that you played yesterday is just right on the core of what is needed now. That song should be sung every Sunday at every Christian church in the country because it says, "Get out of the shadows, get out in the light, confront corruption and evil everywhere you find it." And that's not happening. So I know you've been trying, and the fact that you wrote that 25 years ago is incredible. You've been out there so long and trying to do it. But I think the time is right now. Like you say, there's an awakening, and we should be able to get more people alert and get out there. But I think that song is really great. It hits the core of what's needed right now, and I think it is a modern example of the old song. The marching song, "Go Out Like an Army." I can't remember the name of it. It's an old song that's Protestant that they taught in all the churches. And this would be a modern adapter for that because it says, "Go out and pursue things like an army," and Yeah, right. And it's a very, very common one. I can't think of it now. So anyhow, I think that one we ought to hear more often, and I'm going to go on the internet and get it back. So thanks for you being there. Thanks for your message, and thanks for the songs.
Well, thank you so much for saying so. That's a very powerful compliment, and I certainly appreciate you. The song that you're referring to I played yesterday is called Come On America. And if you go to YouTube, and just search my name, Dave vonKleist, and just scroll, and then you could type in "Come On America." You can find that exact song, and it's out there, like I said, for free. And I gotta tell you, this is not something that I signed up for. I didn't have any choice. I mean, I've always stood by the motto, and it was in the liner notes of my first album back in '96, and I basically wrote, if you become aware of a lie and you do nothing to expose the lie, you become part of the lie. And I won't be part of the lie. If I see the truth, I have to share it. I have no choice. And I was charged with that responsibility many years ago. A friend of mine gave me a Bible. And believe me, I'm not a religious guy. I'm not a proselytizer or anything like that. But anyway, he gave me this Bible, and I opened it randomly, and it took me to Ezekiel chapter 33. And in Ezekiel 33, it says that God told the people to assign a watcher on the wall. When the watcher sees the sword come upon the land, he is to blow the trumpet. If he blows the trumpet and the people don't listen, then their blood is on their own head. But if he sees the sword and he blows not the trumpet, then their blood is on his head. And I'm sorry, but I don't want their blood on my head. I have no choice. I have to blow the trumpet. And that's what I've been doing all these years. And I'll be honest with you, back in 2009, after fighting, I had some personal things happen in my life, and I just said, I can't do this anymore. And I was gone. I dropped out, and I said, that's it. I flipped my middle finger to the United States. I said, to heck with the Patriot movement, to heck with the 9/11 movement. I'm not doing this anymore. Well, a couple of years ago, I happened to reopen my Bible, and it randomly went to Ezekiel 33, but this time it went to the end of that verse. And in lines 32 and 33, I don't have it here, I'd have to paraphrase, but it said that you are unto them as a very lovely song, who hath a pleasant voice and can play well on an instrument, for they hear thy words, but they do them not. And I said, oh my God, the title of my first album was, Will Someone Listen? And I went, oh my. And like I said, that's 30 years after the fact. I didn't know this 30 years ago. Wow. I was called into service 30 years ago. I went ahead and I had my radio career and making the documentaries and recording all the albums. And then I just got, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially exhausted. And I said, that's it, I'm done. And now I come back, and all of a sudden I read that, and it says, and when this come to pass, lo, it will come, then shall they know that a prophet hath been among them. So, whoa, I didn't sign up for this.
Well, some people are called, and some hear the call and answer it, and you've done that, and for so long. And let me tell you, your program has been on. I write my 3 representatives every week and telling them what they should do, what's going wrong, and everything else. I signed up for the White House newsletter, and I answer them every time I got it. And then the local radio station has a call-in thing on Saturday, and I call in there. So I think all of us can do at least that amount. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, that's why
all of us can do at least that.
That's right. As just pick up one starfish and take it out to the deeper water. That's what I was saying.
Good.
It mattered to that one, If you can make a difference in one life and bring them around, then that's what the whole point of it is.
Tell me one more time the title of that song.
Come On, America.
Okay, got it. All right.
All righty.
Thank you very much for being there and your message and your songs. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you so much.
Come on, America.
God bless you too. I appreciate that. Yeah, spread the word. Tell all your friends. There's a wackadoodle broadcaster out there. Go to TheWTFReports.com, and if they're offended by that, tell them it stands for With the Facts, because that's what I do.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you for everything.
God bless, and thank you,
Bye-bye.
too. Bye-bye. Oh, that was a nice call. And let me see. Yeah, if you want to call in, you're welcome to do so. 215-867-8255. Now, before I took that call, I was talking about the noticing, the shift, the Great Awakening. Well, the noticing is a little different because people are now starting to notice the movers and the shakers behind some of this stuff that's been going on. Now, I am never, ever, ever going to allow anybody to say that you're a racist or you're an anti-Semite or anything like that. I grew up in Brooklyn. I spent my formative years in Brooklyn. I went to PS 9 over near the Brooklyn Public Library in Prospect Park. And my best friend who lived on the 6th floor, I was on the 2nd floor, and his name was Jamie, and he was Jewish. And he and I celebrated Christmas and Hanukkah together. And then there was another friend, I don't remember what his real name is, I only knew him by Junior, and he was a black kid. And the three of us were thick as thieves. We did everything together. We hung out. So don't tell me that I'm a racist or I'm an anti-Semite. But there is a group of individuals that are, shall we say, unsavory. And I want to share with you, here is an audio clip from a rabbi, and he's basically telling the truth. Listen to what this rabbi had to say.
Who knows the first two laws that Hitler implemented? Who knows the first two laws? Before the Nuremberg laws. Before that, we're talking about years before it. Hitler first comes into power. What's the first two laws? Okay, I'll save you the time. Rule number 1. No more pornography. No more homosexuality. None of that garbage. Not allowed. Berlin, in the 30s, in the 20s, was the Sodom and Gomorrah of the day. Homosexuality, pornography, all the bestiality, all the garbage of the world, that was the capital of the world. He outlawed it. You're no longer allowed, closed all the bars, all the gay clubs, all the production, which were all run by Jewish people. Unfortunately. Second rule, you're not allowed to charge interest. No more interest. Now you would think, why? What does he care about interest? Well, because all the people that had the money, that lent the money out, were Jews. He said no more interest. Why? Because of the high interest that the Jews charged people was so high, it ruined, it destroyed the economy in Germany. They destroyed, just like they destroyed Russia a few years before that through their communism over there. Jews destroyed Russia, not Goyim. Jews destroyed. Communism is by Jews. Well, don't let anybody confuse you. You look at history, Karl Marx, all the other Reshaim, they're all Jews. Wicked, but nonetheless Jews. They destroyed Russia, and he wrote in chapter 2 of Mein Kampf, they destroyed Russia, now they're destroying Germany. Go to the store to buy bread, you had to take a whole horse carriage full of money. By the time you arrive at the store, it wasn't enough. Why? Because the inflation rate was so high. The bread became so much more valuable and your money went down. And at that time, the Great Depression was happening around the entire world. Everyone was in a financial collapse. America was a financial collapse. England was a financial collapse. Germany collapsed worse than everybody else. But after he passed this law, within 6 years, Germany became the leading, wealthiest economy in the world. They called it a financial miracle. Why? They were the only ones that were bold enough to stop interest. This is one of the biggest reasons of why he hated Jews. Because they destroyed the economy because of their greed. This is happening again.
Yes, it is. And thank you for sharing that and telling the truth about that. As a matter of fact, there's another rabbi. I don't know what's possessing them to come out and tell the truth about what they're doing. But here's another rabbi explaining what happened over the past 1,000 years. Here you go.
You know, if your child is thrown out from every single school in the tri-state area, right? At some point, the principal is going to tell you, it's not the schools. You understand? Jews have been thrown out from every single country they ever lived in, besides maybe 5. New Zealand, Australia, America, and maybe another 2. Canada. You tell me one country in the world that they weren't expelled from. So at some point, you got to look at yourself and you say, you know what? Maybe it's us. So you become a self-hating Jew. I understand the process very well. 2,000 years of being thrown out of every school. At some point, you look in the mirror and you say, you know what? I got the issue.
Maybe you got the issue. Well, this is why I'm saying there's something called the noticing that is going on all over the world, and people are starting to take another hard look at these individuals who basically are imposters. Now, I'm not here to condemn all the Jews. No, don't even go there. I'm not an anti-Semite. As a matter of fact, I think we mentioned this on the show before, that the Johns Hopkins University did an ancestry study and found that Israelis are 97.5% non-indigenous. They come from Eastern Europe or from North America. And they did the same ancestry study on the Palestinians, and lo and behold, 80% of them are indigenous. They are from the region. Their bloodline goes back thousands of years. The Palestinians are the Semites. Let that sink in for a little bit. That means that the Israelis are the anti-Semites. And those of us, I say us, when meaning the United States, who support Israel are the anti-Semites. Everything is bass-ackwards. Well, you know what? This is a plan. This is going on all over the world. As a matter of fact, there's a woman by the name of Barbara, Speckler. There it is, Barbara Speckler. And she's up in Stockholm. She had this to say. Think about this.
I think there's a resurgence of anti-Semitism because at this point in time, Europe has not yet learned how to be multicultural. And I think we're going to be part of the throes of that transformation, which must take place. Europe is not going to be the monolithic societies that they once were in the last century. Jews are going to be at the center of that. It's a huge transformation for Europe to make. They are now going into a multicultural mode, and Jews will be resented because of our leading role. But without that leading role and without that transformation, Europe will not survive.
That sounds like a threat almost. Why is it? Why is it that this concept of multiculturalism has been spreading all over the world? We have to open our borders. Look what's happened to our country since they opened the borders under Biden. It's an absolute mess. It's an absolute disaster. And it's been done by design. This is no accident, folks. This has been deliberate, and it's been relentless. And, of course, there's a lot of people in this country that are blaming Trump and say, oh, yeah, the economy's tanking. We got all these problems and stuff because of Trump. No, he's trying to clean up the mess that was brought in under the Obama-Biden administrations. So, and I'm not 100% on board with Trump either, okay? Please don't say, oh, my gosh, he's a Trump-tard. Yeah. Okay. No, I'm not 100% on board. He's doing some pretty screwed up stuff, too. And I'm trying to figure out, wait a second. Is he the white hat that we all thought he was? I don't know. Maybe he's been replaced. I don't know. I mean, we all know that there are lots of body doubles out there, lots of doppelgangers. And I don't know. I mean, we've seen some of the video clips out there of side-by-sides of Joe Biden, 10 years ago versus Joe Biden last year. And it's really interesting because it doesn't look like it's the same guy. It really doesn't. But is he the only one who's possibly wearing a mask? It's food for thought, that's for sure. So I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was saying, hey, Dave, is it possible that Trump has been replaced? And I said, well, come on, no, really? And she said, no, really, think about it. And I started to think about it. I said, it's not outside the realm of possibilities. We're living in a crazy world right now. So what the question is, okay, if he's been replaced, if there's an actor with a very well done mask, well, then where's the real Trump? Okay. And if that is the real Trump, why is he sort of like backing down on a bunch of this stuff? Anyway. I almost missed my musical cue there. Anyway, it's just food for thought, folks. Trying to think outside the cage, as they say. All right, that said, that's going to wrap it up for today's broadcast. I hope you're enjoying it and getting informed. If you are, please share the message. Tell your friends about the WTF reports and help to get this message out there. As always, I humbly request that you visit our website, do some business with our sponsors, and that's how we keep the lights on. In the meantime, God bless you all. Stay safe. and stay free. I'm Dave vonKleist, and I will see you tomorrow. God bless you all.
Watch the roaches take flight as you turn on the light. You won't be trusted anymore. No, you won't be trusted anymore.